Today's sponsor is Audible.com, who has more than 180 audiobooks and spoken word audio products. Get a free audiobook of your choice at www.audibletrial.com/CA Telecast. This month, we're recommending Star Wars The Force Awakens by Alan Dean Foster. This is the official novelization of The Force Awakens, so if you can't get enough of the movie, now you can hear more about Rey, Finn, and Poe, and I guess those other people from Star Wars too. So go to audibletrial.com/CA Telecast and grab your free audiobook and help support the telecast. Greetings, travelers. My name is Nick Murphy.
And my name is Satchell Drakes.
And welcome to the Cinephilia Anonymous Telecast. We're going to take you on an interstellar adventure through the darkest corner of your mind to unlock your hidden passion for cinema.
How's it going, man? How's the week?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
So we're back, just talking. We're just back in the saddle again.
back talking about the movies. We were just kind of relaxing, absorbing the ethos of the film universe, so that we can come back energized with new commentary and new thoughts on things, or just, it's just been a minute.
Dude, we're blasting through our lives, man. Our lives
life's happening.
Both of our lives are traveling at light speed, and we're just trying to hold on.
That's right. Hold on.
Yeah, man. What have you been up to?
I've been chilling. So I'm trying to think of the last major thing that I did. Lately has just been For those who don't know, alongside doing podcast stuff, I do YouTube stuff. It's been writing scripts and putting together case studies, working on Mixtape Monday, where I share music every week. And I was at PAX a couple weeks ago.
It was pretty fun. How was that?
I was out in Boston. It was great. It was really cool. I ran into Matt and Wooly from Super Best Friends.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we just hung out and met some new people, chilled out with some other folks. Cons are always sort of like the best opportunity for all our friends who are like sort of like from other states and other countries. We can all kind of come together in one place, congregate, be socially overwhelmed, and then squash all of that and end up in someone's hotel room just kind of relaxing.
Right. Did you meet up with Kevin Cole?
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, we were hanging out the whole weekend. And that was sort of nice, like just sort of, for the most part, really just laying low and not really kind of seeking out like running with too many different clicks, just sort of chilling with your peeps,
Yeah, dude. That's good. Awesome, man. Love those conventions. I wish we could get out to more. It's just like, it's hard. You do too many and you're like,
it's hard for East Coasters like us. Oh yeah, also that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's burnout. How about you, dude?
Yeah, everything's good. Just rocking and rolling. What kind of major development? Paul and I are working on a new project. It's kind of top secret, but it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Yeah,
we'll have to talk about that
we're trying to push our boundaries. So we're kind of getting out of comfort zones that we're used to. Still treading some like familiar territory, but trying to push that boundary a little bit, like challenge ourselves to make something a little different than what people would think we would be making.
Dude, yeah. I hear that. I hear that.
All good, man. So this week we're going to be talking about Primer. Satchel, have you seen Primer before?
Oh my God. Okay, so I saw this 3.5 times. The first 3 times
all this time, all like current.
Yes, all current. So in the past week, I saw it 3 times, and then the 4th time was just like skimming through the specific parts to piece it together. Man.
Yeah.
Okay, so
movie's great.
Yeah.
So here's a little bit of backstory. So Primer came out in 2004. If you guys haven't seen Primer, it's awesome. I think you should watch it. I think it's a great film in many aspects, many of which I'm sure we'll discuss today. But it was
without a doubt
written, directed, produced, edited, scored, and starring Shane Carruth. And normally that would sound kind of like over
Tom Wiseau.
Yeah, exactly. But Shane Carruth is very good at what he does, so he does not.
And apparently an ex-engineer, which makes so much sense.
Yeah, totally. I love it. Normally, like, this is the part of the show where I ask you to kind of like summarize what the movie is, and I'm interested to see if you would be able to do that in a briefness.
Okay. I want to take on this challenge. I feel like I can do it. So,
Okay.
two Biffs, Abe and Aaron. They are, for the most part, it seems like finance lizards, and they're essentially they're trying to invent a machine that allows them to time travel in a way that they can take advantage of the stock markets and stock market predictions.
Right.
Much like Marty McFly tries to steal the sports almanac.
Right.
So that
right.
they can turn over really amazing profit through the stock market and just be rich, because that's a thing that people desire. They do that after much experimentation, and through human fallibility, distrust, deceit, mistakes, they screw around with multiple timelines, clones, just every possible mistake that you could hypothetically make with time travel that you've seen in countless other films. And in a weird attempt to fix everything and put masking tape on it, and it's just a mess and a mind funk.
Yeah. It's like Abe says in the film. He says, "There's always leaks."
Yeah,
I thought that was an appropriate
amazing.
Line for what kind of happens in their thing. Yeah, great job, man. I was trying to think of what would be like a one-line summary of this movie, and like all I could come up with was two business partners accidentally invent a time machine. They analyze the best way to use said time machine, attempting to be both safe and smart, but wind up losing themselves in the process.
That does it, man.
Yeah, right? Dude, it's a convoluted movie.
It is. And there's definitely a romance component to it as well, as in through all the analytic parts and stuff, which is really interesting.
You mean between Abe and Aaron, or
no,
that plot thread that comes a little bit later, with him trying to save Rachel, I think.
Yeah. And that sort of being the crux of well, we'll get there. Yeah.
yeah, totally.
I have a question before we go there, because we're gonna go there.
Sure.
And before that, I just want to throw out all the one-off stuff. So
yeah, totally.
One question I had, and it's kind of like a technical question, and so I'm kind of bearing all here, is it commonplace, and was it just me? Is it like a normal recognized method of filmmaking where you record voices after the fact? Like, you don't have a microphone in the room.
Yeah, so ADR stuff. So ADR is people say that it stands for automatic dialogue replacement, but there's nothing automatic about it.
Right.
A lot of people say it's additional dialogue recording is what I've heard. But yeah, it happens on like every movie, because you think about like if we were just watching like Guardians of the Galaxy, like they're on like a set with like a gimbal and stuff. That thing is loud as hell. So on set, they're going to try and record the best audio possible. And it's probably going to get thrown out because there's like pistons and, all the workings of a thing. So that's like a big budget kind of example.
Right.
And like a lower budget kind of thing, you're trying to capture the best dialogue that you can and the best kind of sound on set, so that you don't have to do this dialogue replacement later on. But it kind of winds up happening either way, because you kind of want this clean audio. When you have like your audio like nice and clean and like crisp, you can manipulate it however you want and make it sound super crazier. But I think with this movie, so the film has a budget of $7,000,
right? Which blew me away when I saw that. Like, you told me the film, and then I looked it up on Wikipedia real quick because it sounded familiar, and I was like, "Whoa, that's intriguing!" Like,
yeah, so $7,000 even in current standards is not a lot of money. Like, it's not like it was like more money in 2004 or something. They shot it on 16 millimeter film, so
you could tell
most of it got used. for the film stock was, that
Right.
I read something, and I really doubt that it's true, that they shot there's 80 minutes of what they shot, and only 2 minutes hit the cutting room floor. They had to have done other takes and stuff. So, oh yeah, here we go. Carefully limited the number of takes, resulting in extremely low shooting ratio of 2-to-1. Every shot in the film was meticulously storyboarded on 35mm stills. Carruth created a distinctive, flat, overexposed look in the film by using fluorescent lighting. Yeah, I read that somewhere, and I was like, "There's no way that they could have had 2 minutes of film that they cut out." It's probably like 2
Right.
minutes got cut from a scene, but
Yeah.
even still, everything seems like this. Everything about this movie seems well thought out. I would doubt that there'd be a million takes of something, or for me, it's the only thing that would stand out there of something being
I agree. Yeah.
Several takes would be Shane Carruth wanting to get it right. But I it's even a shooting ratio of 2-to-1 is insane. So that means for every scene they did 2 takes, and that's
And it's weird.
it.
You talk about how everything's incredibly thought out. It makes me think immediately about just the performance overall, where this is largely, I mean, besides the fact that the cast is super stripped down, this is largely a very stoic performance.
Yeah.
It's hard to really think about the emotional height. The emotional height, more than anything, is when you do all the math in your head.
Right.
And
Yeah,
and it's
seriously.
really interesting to see a film like that, because usually I'm watching something and I'm like, oh man, when am I going to feel something? I know I'm going to latch the moment that happens. And I guess that sort of happens through the suspense of it, but it's not necessarily sympathizing with the characters in any kind of way, at least on my end, as much as it's getting very wrapped up in the calamity of everything that they've sort of stumbled into the whole way, because it just feels like one trip after another after another. I mean, how did you feel about it?
Well, yeah, totally, man. I mean, it's kind of I think the film purposefully gets the audience lost. I feel like that's a very conscious decision that the film does. The main characters get lost throughout the movie, and I think that's that kind of style is kind of a reflective kind of thing. I mean, what was your first experience watching this movie? The first time through, trying to piece it all together. What was that like for you?
Throw Act 1 in the garbage, because everything they were talking about was way over my head. I was waiting, and I said, well, first I said it, and then I countered myself. I was like, all right, I am waiting for this to get sci-fi, because I feel like it's happening. I feel like that's what's happening here. And then I was like, no. You're going to pay attention to every point. You're not going to popcorn movie audience this. You're going to pay attention to the details. And, I did try to follow along as best as I could. There's some sciencey stuff that I totally dug just because I'm a nerd or whatever. But it was really, I guess it was really 40% into the 30%, 40% into the film that I was kind of piecing things together. And then there was an additional component where a lot of things were happening out of order. And it almost kind of requires that second go around for you to understand the place that it has. But it's amazing when you can take a guess and put it together. The one thing that I do want to say, watching it, to kind of properly answer the question, the first time that I watched it, more than anything, I appreciated the hell out of the fact. I appreciated the hell out of how non-pandering the film was to my intelligence.
It does. Oh man, it doesn't pull any punches when it comes to that. It's just
it gives you nothing.
This is these are the guys. This is the world. This is how they talk. Get used to it.
Yeah.
There's no. Well, I was thinking about it. While most movies try really, really hard to give you that kind of chalkboard scene and kind of
here you
break
go,
it
take
down
my hand
for
here
you,
go.
And okay, cool. We'll simplify it for in English, please.
Right.
Some
here comes the plane.
Right. Some character would say that. It's this movie's no, we're not going to do that. You're just going to have to follow along. And the movie is purposefully, so many movies move away from that jargon, that techno babble. This movie embraces it. This movie is all about that.
Yeah.
Like, you're there these guys are trying to piece this thing out, and you're trying to piece what they're trying to piece out. It's really great, and it like doesn't shy away from that. Like, these characters talk over each other throughout like the first third of the movie,
which is so real. Like when you're actually making something with other people, they were talking. It was so honest to that. I loved that.
Yeah, and I think that like, if they're all engineers and they're doing this kind of like, garage band, Apple startup kind of thing, like in their garage, like that's the way they would be. They would all be that kind of person that would be the most important person, have the most important thing to say, and the best, most important idea that they're trying to convey to sell everybody else on. So like, of course they would all be like that and talk over each other and like really try to like outshine each other, It's just, I remember watching it like, I rented it from like a West Coast Video in like, I guess like 2005, maybe 2006. And I was just like floored. Like, did you watch Lost?
Yeah, from top to bottom.
Yeah. So when Jack and John Locke find that first film strip, right? And they watch it and you're watching it along with them. And like John Locke is just like, we're going to need to watch that again. Like that was my experience. Like the movie ended and I was like, I got to watch it again. I got to figure out what I missed and like how all of this comes together, man. Like, and I think that's for these guys who are reliving a time loop, reliving the same thing over and over again. It's awesome that feeling and that thought transcends the film and like affects the audience that way. It was like, wow, we need to relive this again to really understand the intricacies, because these characters are trying to understand the intricacies of time travel and how all of that affects everything.
Yeah.
It's like such a smart movie. And I can see how someone would be like, it's just kind of like, it loses you. And it's
man, you got to deal with it. There's so much other stuff. Go watch literally everything else. Like this has kind of been my fantasy in a kind of way. Like I always want, like, for example, like Inception, like I remember coming out being like, man, I'd love to see a version where they just did it.
Right.
The version, like where's the version where it's just a window into these people figuring this out? And like this was exactly that. It's just a window. It's practically like a documentary of discovering time travel, And there's something valuable about that. There's only one moment that they explain things. And it's such
a great moment too. It's like it's a whole where Abe's explaining it and Aaron's like, you got to write this down. He's like, I don't need to write this down. I understand it completely. He's like, well, I'm going to write it down.
Right.
And that's like the only chalkboard moment. And even that still doesn't make sense.
Right. And then the sort of like throwing the dust underneath the mat where they're like, man, you think it would be strange that the storage guy would see two guys coming in but never going out, or that the hotel people see two dudes just checking in for 6 hours every day. And then it's done. And then it's just like, just in case you were going to catch us in this, here you go. All right, now we're back to the film. Like there's
right. But like in like that defense, it's like there's really only like 3 or 4 days throughout this whole thing.
Right.
We just see it. Yeah. We just see it like several times.
Right.
It's like, I just love how like unapologetically confusing it is. Definitely. And that's not like, they don't even try to like hide it or mask it. It's just like, yes, it's going to be confusing, and we're not going to like paint all the pictures for you and really spell it out. You need to just kind of like pay attention. Like when they're talking about like Rachel's dad coming back, I think it probably would have been helpful to see it, but it's also would have been confusing because it's like, who is this guy? What? Right. We've never seen him before. Right. But like our characters,
you see him for like a second, and like you're not even paying attention. Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously, it's really interesting.
Do you so speaking of spelling things out, do you feel like, especially for the people listening, that we should outline their process, or is it sort of like you watched it, we're here? Like, what do you think?
I think we
should we pull a primer?
Yeah. I think we could like spell it out a little bit, just because like I think that'll help us flesh out some ideas too of like what we really liked about the movie and like what was.
And it could also look different for us because our perceptions of how time is treated could be different. Like,
it was like I haven't seen this. I haven't rewatched this movie probably in like 2 or 3 years. And even still, I was like, oh, I'm forgetting like a lot about this movie, and it was good to like. I watched it like twice this today, and I was just like, okay, cool. And like second time through, I was like, I feel like I really have a grasp on this, and I'm starting to like analyze scenes that I took as I'm gonna say true, but true's not the right word. Like true watching the first time through, like, oh well, this is just this day, and it's like no,
it's not,
that day, but we're looking at like Aaron 2 or Aaron 3,
right.
Not the original, yeah. So they're these two engineers, and they are trying to make a device to, I think it's like to alleviate gravity, like make things like way less. I think
that's what I thought it was. Okay, cool, yeah.
I think they're trying to like. They're trying to like reduce,
because that explains like the particles and stuff that are like floating for a while.
Yeah. Which was, dude, that's great. It's like the only CG shot in the whole movie,
and it's great.
It was shot on a video camera, like, and played through and filmed. Like it's like that screen's not replaced. Like that's like they did that like a digital effect, put it through the TV, then filmed the TV. It's so smart. Like way to go. Like. What a great piece of filmmaking, like trickery,
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's so
By
good.
the way, speaking of film, I like one thing that I like, and some people are gonna see this as a threat. They're gonna have to get over it. Like, so in my head, like, film is this super special thing because like it's like fetishized everywhere. It was interesting to see. It was interesting to see film's ISO, I guess, just fall apart at nighttime. Like when they're arguing at after the party that Danielle is at with her ex-boyfriend and stuff, and they're just sort of like talking with each other. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I see why. It was like, okay, I saw a case for digital. Like, I was like,
well, the nighttime stuff is really
which was
rough,
interesting,
man.
and not in a critical way. Like I wasn't distracted by it or anything. Like it was totally cool. I see lo-fi stuff all the time, but it was funny. It was like, dude, pass this dude to A7S. Like,
yeah, seriously, like, dude, in 2004, if there was anything like that, it would have been amazing. Like, what? But I think he did a good job. Shane did a good job of. I'm gonna call him like his first name, like we're bros. God, I wish. I think Shane Carruth did a good job of like working around that. Like that scene in the fountain, right? I was kind of like, oh, that's such a weird thing. And I was like, oh, but he needs something to take place at nighttime in a different locale than we've seen before.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, oh, this fountain is like illuminated, so they're gonna like have a scene that takes place there. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's a clever way to like utilize a natural setting.
I agree.
With like light that you could film in. Yeah, I thought that was cool. Okay, so they start like tinkering with this whole thing, and then they kind of accidentally send this Weeble Wobble into this. The way like it becomes lighter is because they displace it in time. That's my understanding of it.
Okay.
And so like the way they explain it is that it goes in through this like A end of the machine.
Right, the A and the B end, yeah.
Yeah, and it's supposed to come out the B end and be fine, but it doesn't. It kind of like loops back around and continues to keep looping until it pops out after a certain amount of revolutions. This randomization factor happens and just like pops it out after a certain amount of time. So the Weeble has like not experienced any of the time that we've experienced, allowing it to kind of like be time traveling in the past. So it just almost like frozen in time.
And then they carry out that same, I guess, like tech demo with watches.
Right.
And then that like solidified it in my head. And then
with the time thing. And then the not the fungus, but like the
protein.
No, it's not the protein. Yeah, they're like, oh, it would have taken like years for that much to come up. So like they're accelerating this whole thing.
Yeah. And they devised this system where, okay, I'm going to here's my hack at it. They devised a system where, so, all right, fast forward, like, because I want to say the next scene, Abe explains to Aaron how time travel works, but we realize that scene isn't the first time Abe explains to Aaron that that's how time travel works. So essentially Abe makes a life-size version of this box that sends people through time.
Right. But as you're seeing it through the audience, you think that they're figuring out together how they could make a full-size version of it, when in fact Abe has already done it and has already been time traveling.
Right.
Right, and reveals this to Aaron. Aaron has the darker hair, if you get confused, because they both have A's for names.
Right.
Yeah.
And Abe creates so Abe goes in first, right? And then and he creates two boxes. So he creates an initial box and then sort of like a backup box.
Yeah, they call it the fail-safe box.
Yeah, fail-safe box, just in case things go sideways. So he creates the first box, and that's around like 9 a.m. And then the fail-safe box is like a couple hours prior, so that in the event that something wrong goes down, like he can go back and convince his original self to not time travel at all.
Right, to not go in.
Or
he says that he would like sabotage. At the end of the movie, he says he would like sabotage their box.
Right, because he's kind of wary of what would happen if he met another instance of himself. He's not sure what would happen. So he goes in the box at 9. No, he turns the box on at 9, and turning the box on sets the date, sets the time at which the box will bring you back. So,
right. The point at which you turn the box on is the furthest back in time you could go.
Right, exactly. No, that's a more accurate way to say it. It's the furthest back you can go in time. So he turns the box on, then he locks himself away from all of society because he doesn't want to interrupt the flow of like existing in that period of time a second time. So
he basically gives his future self 6 hours. The future self who would be coming out of the box at 9, 6 hours to do whatever he wanted to do to further whatever they wanted. Yeah.
So he's locked away for 6 hours, and then he goes back in the box at around like 3 p.m., let's say. So that's the 6 hours. Yeah, around 3 p.m. and sleeps in the box, and the box brings him back. So he sleeps for 6 hours, and the box brings him back 6 hours to 9 a.m. where he can play the stock markets and see profit. So he does that by himself for the first time. And then when he figures it out, he tells Aaron and shows Aaron the original version of himself going to the box that morning.
Right.
And that's how he gains buy-in from Aaron. Aaron's timid at first, but then he joins on. And there's something important there. Well, yeah, I mean so that's the whole idea. Like that's the whole system, and they essentially do that together. But that first day is it the second day? The second day is kind of important because the second day is when the party takes place, and that
the first day is
just
Abe by himself, and then the second day is so they wind up like gaining lots of time and have done this several times at this point.
Yeah.
At any point in the movie, really.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it like a linear kind of fashion.
Yeah.
But they kind of just start to discover, what every time travel thing is, that there's these repercussions that happen by affecting time. Like they think they're kind of like smart enough to figure it all out, and they take all these steps and precautions to make sure that like these things don't happen. And then these things start happening, and they're unable to like correct them enough. Like they're not able to like go back enough to fix everything.
Right.
To the point where they themselves like start deteriorating. Like at one point, like Aaron's like ear starts bleeding, and like the versions of themselves, like they can't write. Like they're trying to figure out like why they can't write correctly. Like their motor skills are like deteriorating.
Yeah. I think where I landed with the writing stuff was both of their, like in the beginning when they're doing all the tech demo stuff, they both like put their hands on the machine when it was like doing its thing as they were experimenting with it. And I almost wondered,
I didn't even pick up on that.
I almost wonder if that put the aging of their hands somehow out of sync, and when they like traveled enough times, like
it just
accelerated that and started ruining.
Dude. That's so smart. That's awesome. I took it as like a weird like nature correction kind of thing, like as if like they're doing it so much that they're trying to remember all these details, and they're like, okay, we're going to write down these details, and at some point by doing it so often, that is like they're like, I don't know, the nature would somehow
accelerating
like
the
catch on to
deterioration.
that, and they're like, okay, well, you can't record it through writing, and then they did it even more, and then they started like doing like having like these voice recordings of like what's happening throughout the day and what's, you know, and at some point I was like, oh, and if they did it enough, that would like their motor skills and like their speech would like deteriorate at some point. You know?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I was like extrapolating this weird.
No. Well, I mean,
they did it enough
I mean,
times.
that could be possible. I mean, we still don't have any explanation as to why his ear was bleeding, you know, like.
Yeah. I mean, he talks about like, you know, they don't know. They're filling the machine with like argon and breathing like all kinds of. Yeah. It's untested. You know, it's crazy that they would just kind of jump right into the human testing part, you know?
Right. Definitely. And the crazy part about all of this is that they both essentially deceive each other by it's really more Aaron, because there's a point in time where there are like 3 Aarons at once. There's like
there's several at that point.
So there's the first Aaron that goes through. So what makes all of this work? Okay, here's what I remember. What makes all of this work, in case people are wondering, hey, if they're going back in time each time, isn't there going to be like 50,000 versions of Abe and Aaron? And that's not true. Essentially, what they're banking off of is the idea that Abe starts the machine, goes in the hotel room, then sleeps in the capsule, goes back in time. The second version of Abe and Aaron, they continue living their lives, and the first version of themselves is still technically going in the cycle of starting the machine, going in the hotel, and then getting in the box and going back in time again. So the moment they progress to the next day, those other versions of them are stuck in the past. So at all times, there's 1 or 2 versions of them.
Yeah, essentially they're making like new timelines every time. Like they're kind of just like, as soon as they start making changes, this timeline where like they would not have done that goes away, and when they alter like something else, this other timeline deteriorates. They keep
genius is that
like moving.
They're so cool.
Like if time's moving in like a linear kind of thing on like an x-axis, right? Like they time travel back, and then it kind of just like skips down to like the next coordinate,
right?
But like keeps going straight across, and then it happens again, and just keeps kind of like skipping down further and further these different levels and stuff,
right? And the reason there's more than 2 in the story is because Abe first uses the failsafe. Is it Abe who uses the failsafe? Yeah, Abe. No, Abe doesn't use the failsafe first. Aaron uses the failsafe the moment he discovers time travel, so that he can stop Rachel, right? Rachel?
Yeah, Abe uses it to stop Rachel.
Oh, Abe uses it to stop Rachel? I thought it was Aaron. No, it's Aaron, because Aaron didn't tell Abe about it. Right?
Okay.
Right?
Because they both kind of like, they both deceive their past selves at one point. Like,
right. Oh no, it is Aaron, because that's why Aaron locks his past self in the attic.
Up in the attic.
Yeah, so Aaron,
like the wife thinks.
Yeah, so Aaron has an interest in Rachel. Aaron goes to the party and stops Rachel's ex-boyfriend from doing something drastic. Meanwhile, since he went back in time to do that, the initial version of himself, he like poisons him and then locks him in the attic, which, by the way, and he writes him off as birds. When that clicked, my mind exploded. That he's locked in the attic and he's making sounds, and his wife's like, I think those are rats. And he's like, no, it's just birds.
Like, no, I think the birds, yeah.
And then the reason they go back a second time, and they both go on their own accord at the end of everything, is because, like you said, Rachel's dad discovers the time machine, and the hunch, and they have a hunch that he discovered the time machine because of Rachel's ex-boyfriend's knowledge of them and him sort of communicating with his dad. So he severs all I guess the idea is that they sever the possibility of that entirely by just trying to get him like taken care of at the party. So they go back a second time, and then there's 3 Aarons and 2 Abes.
Yeah. So they suspect that Rachel's father at some point gets in the machine in order to stop this friend of theirs coming in and shooting her at this party. So they take it upon themselves to fix that as well. But in effect, they just keep going back, and like they just start deteriorating more and more, and becoming these like weird, like deranged versions of themselves. Like not deranged, but just like degenerated and like I mean, I guess deranged that their like, minds are starting to like slip. Yeah.
Oh man,
my god, it's nuts.
You know what was the coolest part? The coolest part was how it was. I think it was Abe who really wanted to punch Platt in the face. Yeah, and how they arrived at the conclusion, like, okay, we can circumvent not having to convince our past selves to not punch them in the face later, and not deal with the consequences of like of possibly like informing our past selves, like having the knowledge that another version of ourselves exists, by like he was awakened, whatever it is. He was woken by like kids that were like setting off alarms. So they just like, it's cool that he took it as an opportunity to start the machine in the afternoon and then go back in time and just get rid of the kids. That way he could sleep and he wouldn't contemplate punching Platt in the face. Oh my gosh. Like,
so that's really smart, because it almost starts this like night shift of time travel that can happen now too. It's out of control. It's a heavy ass movie, man. It's a super heavy ass movie.
Good recommendation. Oh my gosh.
I'm glad you liked it. I thought you would like it because all the characters are very verbose, and I feel like you have a very like way of talking that is like that. I'm not saying you're verbose, but you're very like thoughtful in what you're saying. Okay, let me think out what I'm saying and really like explain. I feel like every one of your videos is kind of like a I don't know. It feels like a free form kind of like mind dump, you know? But dump and not in a positive.
No, dude, I got it. I appreciate that. You pinned me, man. You got it.
Dude, I feel like you're just like, this is what's all pinned on me, and just here you go.
You know me, dude. You know me. This was my jam.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. So I had a real quick theory, that this like epiphany moment watching it, right?
Dude, you are good with theories, so I'm very excited to hear this.
So I love like anagrams and like names and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I read this one trivia thing about Abe's name, right? So Abe's last name is Turgid, which Turger, which backwards is regret.
Really?
Part of why they wind up going back. So I read that.
Shoot.
I read that online. I thought that was great, right? But here's kind of what I deduced. Ready?
Okay.
So when Abe's explaining how the machine works, right? You put the Weeble in the A end, and it loops at the B end, and it keeps going. And when it comes out, it's changed, right?
Right.
So when it comes in, it's not the same as it was. It's totally different, right? So there's an A end and a B end, the A end and a B end. There's Abe and Aaron, which are the A and B end, right? By the end of the movie, they're kind of like swapped. So like Abe is very just kind of like off the top of his head. He's the first one to figure out the time travel thing. He makes the machine without telling Aaron about it, right? Aaron's very calculated and very like precautious. I mean, he's like a family man, so he needs to like when they're thinking about like
he makes his own failsafe. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And then by the end, Abe is like, no, I'm going to stay here and keep doing this to make sure that our version of Abe doesn't make the machine,
right?
And mess things up. And Aaron's like, no, I want to make it bigger. I want to make more of it. I want to figure out how to make it better. So they've kind of like swapped each other, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
So A and B, right?
Regret.
Abe is Abe is AB, Aaron is AA.
Oh shoot.
Look at that, man.
Oh shoot.
Right?
I like that. Yeah.
Dude,
That could totally be possible. That like
dude, I don't know. I think
so
it would have been too on the
thoughtful.
nose to name him like Aaron and Ben, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's A and B is like the second letter kind of thing. I thought that was kind of a cool little name thing.
Oh my gosh.
Right. I know. This movie, I just keep thinking about everything. And I'm like we're talking about it, I'm like, I'm going to watch this again before so I had like a quick discussion. So we talked about like the plot and we just, dissected the plot like a lot. It seems like this movie was kind of like super thought out and super planned
without
out
a doubt.
and kind of like executed in what I can only assume is like the way Shane Carruth like envisioned it, right? So is the plot and the simplicity of a lot of it a result of the low budget, right? Like, do you think it's kind of like we have a low budget, let's make a really dense, complex film to kind of compensate for that? Or do you think it's just kind of like this is the minimalistic thing, the minimalistic presentation is just kind of what the plot needed? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. My knee-jerk response is it's incredibly difficult for me to believe that so much intellectual potential would have been thrown out the window if the budget were higher.
Yeah, that was my kind of like next question. If there was more money, like would that make
it's
like,
kind of cheating that I know that this guy went from like a very systematic engineering professional background into doing this. Like, but that certainly informs the idea that, oh man, it seems like this was exactly what like he was looking to do. I have no idea, honestly. I'm sure people could use more money, honestly.
Yeah, totally. I'm sure.
In my head, I almost wonder, and this might be romantic to think, but I almost wonder if it's probably better that the amount of locations and individuals involved in this film kind of curbs the complexity of it all. Like, the concept is so much of this that having a complicated cast of characters is almost like, whoa, would that be incredibly overwhelming? I'm sure they could figure a way out for it to work. But I almost enjoy that it was a bottle episode that made you think, and you really just had like 5 variables to worry about. You had Abe and Aaron. And you have 2 half variables really, like Rachel and her ex-boyfriend. And then you have Rachel's dad. Those are really the only people that you have to care about. Those are the only like variables in the formula for the plot. And it seems like there's enough to work out amongst those people that merits multiple watches nonetheless. Less rather.
And dude, calling it like a bottle episode, like this is a time bottle episode. Like most bottle episodes are in one location. This is like in one time period, and we're seeing like a lot of things develop, this kind of like reflecting thing that just keeps like a mirror facing a mirror kind of thing that winds up happening with this time loop. It's great summation. I love that.
How about you? Did you land somewhere similar? Or?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a lot of filmmakers when they make kind of like a lower budget kind of thing. It's kind of like I had access to this, so I worked it into the script, and I worked this something that would normally add production value was just something I had at my disposal. And it seemed like in the credits, which is awesome because there's not very many credits.
Oh, so quick. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, oh, that's awesome. That's very cool. It's like this ragtag group of people made this. This is cool. But yeah, like some of it was at a university, and it's like, oh, cool. I guess I have access to a university. I could film this part here and this part here, and then rent a hotel room for a day and shoot all this stuff. Like it just made sense that everything was cheap, and the plot like worked like that. The story worked for that. These were two guys arguing about money in the beginning and like stealing pieces from like cars to make their stuff. So it's like, okay, of course they would try and like not be cheap about it, but just try to like be frugal about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it seems like the filmmaking kind of like reflected that. It's like, okay, how can we get the most bang for our buck with the minimal amount of bucks that we have?
Right. And that was the most PowerPoint credits, by the way.
Dude,
it was great. No, I loved it. I loved it. It was just very unorthodox.
Yeah, dude, it was totally different. I've never seen credits roll like that. It just like this movie stuck with me for a really long time in that sense. I was like, man, it's just so condensed and simplified and just not like we've seen
that's the kind of stuff, honestly, that gets me excited. Like spectacle stuff, not so much as like, man, but the challenge in doing a lot with a little. Like there's something about I mean, I can bring it back to, I could even bring it back to video games. Like there's something about the challenge that people had getting a bunch of assets onto a cartridge that made them really creative with how they use things. Like thinking about how sound designers would make new sounds. Like they wouldn't be able to put an entire library of sounds on a cartridge because a whole bunch of visual stuff had to fit on there. So instead, like they would have some sounds share notes, or some sounds would be the same sound but pitched up and pitched down. Like there's something about that challenge that almost makes the process of things better. And I always wonder what that would be like. Like for me, like I guess when I dream about working on a thing, if it's like going to be like a motion oriented thing or like a film oriented thing, like it's always like, oh man, what should be the constraints? Like,
dude, the obstacles in any project like are the most important things. I feel like it's every project I take on is kind of like, okay, what are the constraints going to be? How am I going to limit myself to really challenge and bring that creativity out? And I think that's what happens in something like this. Like you have this passion and you have these, either self-imposed obstacles or just practical physical obstacles that you have to overcome. And that's what brings the creativity out. Like I think this film in the hands of a less talented director with more money would not have been good. You know what I mean? Even like, I really don't think money would be the thing to solve any supposed problems that this film has. Like, I don't think this film has very many problems at all.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'd be like, well, let's get like CG particles in to show the protein growing. And,
right.
Like
yeah. Like, can you imagine if there was like
so
this like
simple, like,
montage when they travel through time with light and like Da Vinci drawings floating at the camera, like
dude, right? Yeah, we're gonna get some trapco particular things going on, dude. We're gonna get some lens flares happening and stuff. It just would have been like too much, and like it's cool. Like it's a sci-fi film shot on film for very little money.
Yeah,
it's super impressive. It's really it's a spectacle. And with for not having like a lot of money to be a spectacle, it is a spectacle, and I think it's the storytelling and the plot that really, and like all the actors were like super solid. Like I didn't have like a problem with anybody. Everybody felt real as hell. They all felt like real people in this whole thing. Man, I just love when people can like creatively overcome a problem, and it's not, and the solution isn't throw the money hose at it to make it go away. So many like directors and filmmakers like fall into that. It's just like, oh, if we had had more money, it would have been better. It's like, no, we could have been a little more creative and figured out a way to do that without breaking the bank doing it. It just turns into
it's fun being like, all right, so what am I conveying? Maybe I don't need like,
sure,
yeah, like can I tap into that with that? Like, I don't know. There's something cool about being like, how can I milk this small room to make it seem like there are like 6 different scenes in here?
Yeah,
like,
totally, man. Exactly. Yeah, dude. Sometimes you need people to say no, or your environment, or something to say no. Rethink this idea. Like it just becomes like George Lucas. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
Yeah.
You recommend this movie to other people?
Some, not all.
Yeah. I think
I can think of so many people who are like, what?
Yeah. I was watching it again, and Rebecca, I was like, "You want to watch this with me again, Rebecca?" She's like,
No.
She's like, "We watched it a lot when we were first going out, and I don't know if I'm going to get more from it." She's like, "Just give me the bullet points from you and Satchel's thing, and I think that'll be a good summation of what the movie's about." She's like, "I'm not saying that I don't like it. I love this movie just as much as you do."
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. Man, I love this.
Yeah, dude.
Super good movie. So I mean, as you guys probably saw, we're not doing, if you're watching this on YouTube, we're not really doing the video part of this. We're kind of trying to like pare down and try to like get this out more on the regular, and we feel that the audio will help us kind of like stick to those goals. There won't be as much render time, won't be as much upload time. We want to try and like streamline this process both for us and for you guys to consume. So we're going to do SoundCloud, and we're going to still be available on iTunes and stuff, but just trying to like figure out what works best for this medium that we're talking about.
Heck yeah. And if you're listening on SoundCloud, follow. That way you get auto updates and all that other stuff.
Yeah, and you can...
It'll be tight.
You
can bump it and share it.
Bump it.
Hide it behind other windows on your work computer, because that's what...
Yeah, pretend to be doing work, and you're
that's what
actually just
everyone's doing.
listening to us talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're back. We're going to be better about doing this. We're going to try to.
Yeah.
Man, sometimes you just get busy and stuff just gets in the way.
Make it work.
Yeah, we'll be good.
Make it twerk.
Yeah. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you guys later.
Be good.
The Cinephilia Anonymous Telecast is produced by Satchell Drakes and Nick Murphy. Music by Mark Junker. You can hear more of his music at junker.ca. That's junker.ca. You can follow the Telecast on Twitter at CA Telecast, subscribe on YouTube at CA Telecast, subscribe on iTunes, and check out our website, catelecast.com.